Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into a very crucial and often tricky part of the Indian Constitution. Part 9b, which deals with cooperative societies. This part was added by the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011, and it's a hot topic for both prelims and mains. So, grab your notebooks, and let's get started. First, why was this amendment needed? The goal was to address the problems plaguing cooperative societies across the country, like mismanagement, political interference, and lack of professional expertise. The amendment aimed to empower these societies, making them more democratic, autonomous, and professionally managed. It essentially gave constitutional status and protection to cooperative societies. So, what did the 97th Amendment do exactly? It made three key changes to the Constitution. First, it made the right to form cooperative societies a fundamental right under Article 19(1)(c). Now, alongside forming associations or unions, citizens have the fundamental right to form cooperative societies. This is a massive step, elevating their status significantly. Second, it added a new directive principle of state policy, Article 4(3)(b). This article directs the state to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional management of cooperative societies. Remember, directive principles are not enforceable in court, but they are fundamental in the governance of the country. So, the government is expected to make laws that align with this principle. The third and most substantial change was the addition of a whole new part to the Constitution. Part 9b, titled The Co-operative Societies. This part contains detailed provisions from Article 243ZH to Article 243ZT. Break down some of the most important articles within this part. Article 243Z lays down the rules for the incorporation of cooperative societies. It states that the state legislature can make laws regarding the incorporation, regulation, and winding up of these societies based on the principles laid out in this part. Next, we have Article 243ZJ, which is all about the Board of Directors. This is a critical area for UPSC questions. It specifies the number and term of office bearers of a cooperative society. It mandates that the election of the board members must be conducted before the expiry of the term of the existing board. This ensures timely elections and prevents boards from overstaying their tenure. The maximum number of directors of a cooperative society cannot exceed 21. The article also provides for the reservation of 1 seat for scheduled castes or scheduled tribes and 2 seats for women on the board of every cooperative society that has members from these categories. Furthermore, it prescribes a fixed term of 5 years for the elected members of the board and its office bearers. And what about co-opted members? The board can co-opt persons with experience in fields like banking, management, or finance. But the number of such co-opted members cannot exceed 2, in addition to the 21 directors. These co-opted members, however, do not have the right to vote in any election of the society. Moving on to a very important provision. Article 243(7)K, which deals with the election of the members of the board. It mandates that the superintendence, direction, and control of the preparation of electoral rolls and the conduct of all elections to a cooperative society shall be vested in a body or authority as provided by the state legislature. This is to ensure free and fair elections, away from the influence of vested interests. Article 243Z talks about the supersession and suspension of the board and interim management. This is a provision to tackle mismanagement. A board can be superseded or kept under suspension only under specific conditions like persistent default, negligence in performing duties, or committing acts prejudicial to the interests of the society or its members. However, a board cannot be superseded or suspended for a period exceeding 6 months. This is a crucial check against arbitrary action by the government. In cases of supersession, an administrator is appointed to manage the affairs of the society. Then there's Article 243 ZM concerning the audit of accounts. It makes a professional audit mandatory for every cooperative society. The state legislature has to lay down minimum qualifications and experience for auditors and auditing firms. The accounts of every society must be audited within 6 months of the close of the financial year. Article 243ZN is about convening general body meetings. It mandates that the annual general body meeting of every cooperative society must be convened within 6 months of the close of the financial year. This ensures regular accountability of the board to its members. Let's discuss Article 243ZO, which gives members the right to get information. It states that the state legislature shall provide for access to every member of a society to the books, accounts, and other records of the cooperative society. This promotes transparency and empowers the members. Article 243ZP is about returns. Every cooperative society is required to file annual returns with a specified authority within 6 months of the close of every financial year. This includes the annual report, audited statement of accounts, and a plan for surplus disposal, among other things. This is a key mechanism for regulatory oversight. Article 243ZQ covers offenses and penalties. The state legislature can make provisions for offenses relating to cooperative societies and prescribe penalties for them. This acts as a deterrent against malpractice. Finally, Article 243ZT states that the provisions of this part shall apply to multi-state cooperative societies subject to the modification that any reference to legislature of a state or state act shall be construed as a reference to Parliament or Central Act, respectively. Now, let us talk about the landmark Supreme Court judgment of 2021. In the case of Union of India versus Rajendran Shah, the Supreme Court delivered a very significant verdict. It struck down certain provisions of the 97th Amendment. The court upheld the validity of the amendment concerning multi-state cooperative societies, but struck down the provisions related to state cooperative societies. Why did the court do this? The reasoning was based on the principles of federalism. The subject of cooperative societies is in the state list of the 7th Schedule. The Supreme Court held that for the Union to legislate on a state subject, the constitutional amendment required ratification by at least half of the state legislatures, as per Article 368(2) of the Constitution. Since this ratification was not done for the 97th Amendment, the parts affecting state cooperative societies were declared unconstitutional. So, which parts were struck down? Specifically, the court invalidated the entirety of Part 9b from Article 243Z, H2 243ZT, as it applies to local cooperative societies. However, it saved the part as it applies to multi-state cooperative societies, which are a subject under the Union list. The court used the doctrine of severability to separate the valid parts from the invalid ones. What does this mean for you as a UPSC aspirant? It is crucial to understand both the original provisions of Part 9b and the impact of the Supreme Court's judgment. For mains answers, you must mention this nuance. You should explain that, while the Parliament intended to bring uniform reforms, the procedure adopted was found to be unconstitutional as it encroached upon the legislative domain of the states without their consent. This highlights the delicate balance of power in our federal structure. So, to recap, the 97th Amendment was a major step to reform the cooperative sector. It gave cooperatives a fundamental right status, added a DPSP, and introduced a detailed framework in Part 9b. However, the Supreme Court, acting as the guardian of the Constitution, struck down the application of Part 9b to state-level cooperatives due to procedural flaws related to federal principles. The part remains valid for multi-state cooperative societies. This topic is a perfect intersection of polity, governance, and current affairs. For prelims, you can expect questions on specific articles of Part 9b, the number of the Amendment Act, or the related fundamental right, and D. For mains, you could get a question analyzing the significance of the 97th Amendment and the implications of the Supreme Court's judgment on federalism. So, make sure you have a clear understanding of the original intent, the key provisions, and the current legal status after the Supreme Court's intervention. It's a fascinating example of constitutional dynamics at play. That's all for today's deep dive into Part 9b. I hope this discussion has clarified the complexities surrounding this part of the Constitution. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow aspirants. Do you forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you miss our future videos. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and all the best for your preparation.